To the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach this day, you know, hallelujah for Yahushua and the Shabbat. So, with that being said, hello, yep, John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? Exodus chapter 21 and verse 7. Continuing on. Like I said, we took a good long time, and we didn't finish with the kings. We had like 3, 4, but they were people who we had done dealt with before. You know what I'm saying? But like I told y'all, with this here, with the law, we are literally going to go one chapter at a time. Y'all willing? When we pick up, we'll pick up from the verse that we stopped at from the previous gathering. So somebody need to mute their phone because it's echoing. So just keep that in mind. We're not rushing through this. There's no need to rush through this. Somebody got to mute their phone because it's echoing. Exodus 21 and 7. It says, if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. Now remember, this taking you back to what you go back up some to verse 2 in the same chapter, so you can see why this statement is being made. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve thee, and in the 7th he shall go free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. So when we drop down to verse 6, it says, if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she can't leave like the men servants leave. Let's look at an example of this in the text in Nehemiah the 5th chapter. Nehemiah 5 and 1. Nehemiah 5 and 1. Pray the Lamb for the word. Hold on, y'all. Nehemiah 5 and 1. If I can get around there in a timely fashion, you might could go. Oh, right there. There was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren, the Yahudim. For there was that said, we, our sons and our daughters are many, therefore we take up corn for them, that we may eat and live. Some also there that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses, that we might buy corn because of the dearth. Now let me see what this word, because I don't think they were using the word mortgage. But the word is a rav for mortgage in this particular passage, and it means to pledge or to exchange or to become a surety for. So they stating that they've mortgaged all their lands, so basically they've sold them. They put them up that they might buy corn because there was a dearth. There was a lack of corn. There was a lack of bread in the land. Quote unquote, there was a famine in the land. So keep that in mind. There were also that said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and vineyards. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants, and some of our daughters are brought unto bondage already, neither is in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and vineyards. And I was very angry when I heard their cry in these words. Then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and said unto them, you exact usury, every one of his brother. And I set a great assembly against them, and said unto them, we after our ability have redeemed our brethren, the Yahudim. Notice he said, we after our ability. And I'm going to get to the point in a minute. I'm just going to go through and read all this here. Now the word for ability in this verse is dahi, and it is sufficiency or enough or according to the abundance of or able to do so. have redeemed our brethren the Yahudim, which were sold unto the heathen, and ye will ye even sell your brethren, or shall I be sold unto us? Then they held their shalom and found nothing to answer. And I said, it is not good that you do. Ought you not walk in the fear of our Elohim, because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies? Now this man made a strong statement that every single solitary one of us need to consider. And in that 9th verse, and that should we not walk in the fear of our Elohim, because of the dishonor that we receive from the heathen. And that goes back to what we was talking about. If it wasn't last Shabbat, then it was Wednesday, about blaspheming and profaning this man's name everywhere that you go. Would you not fear this man so these people can't run their mouth? Because these people do run their mouth. See, let me show you an example why these people run their mouth. Let's go to Psalm 79 real fast, and then we'll bounce to the Epistle of Jude. Ain't going off topic too far. Now, this is talking about oppression. Before we even go to that, this Psalm 79, now let me tell y'all something I had a conversation with somebody about. They were saying how black people, Hebrews specifically, overcharge for clothing or garments or whatever, and tried to use the precept in the law about not charging usury. For those of you who are not aware, usury is interest. It's charging interest on something. I loan you $200 and I tell you you got to pay me back the $200 plus another $150. Y'all know what that is. If you got credit cards, you pay a car note, you know you're paying a mortgage on your house, you know you're paying interest on that. And that is lawful for us to do as long as it's not another Hebrew. I can't lend Darius $500 and tell him pay me back $850. I can only lend him $500 and pay him back $500. So y'all have to take that into account, that if you want to get into any field where, and I want y'all to be specific and understand, if you work at a mortgage company, you're not charging usury because you didn't loan the money. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to actually loan the goods that you're charging interest on. If you don't, this is one of the reasons why the people despise the tax collectors during the time of Mashiach to a certain extent. So she trying to equate overcharging with interest, and I'm like, baby, that's not even the same thing. These are two different things. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, how can you tell someone they're overcharging for a product? Now, of course, overcharging is you went to the store, it listed on the shelf that the item is $100, and when they rang it up, it was $160. So you were overcharged $60, and they have to work out a $60 refund or a $60 credit, however they do that. But what somebody chooses to sell their product for is whatever they choose to sell their product for. Now, it's up to you if you choose to purchase it. This young woman tried to say this was extortion. I said, do you even know what extortion is? Extortion is something that you cause someone to do something through coercion of violence or with threats. Ain't nobody threatening you to buy no garment for $80 and another $30 with fringes. Nobody threatening you to spend $110 on that. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to tell somebody what their product is worth? Either you're going to pay it or you're not. Because if you price an item too low, you're going to lose money and you're going to be out of business. You price it too high and you're going to lose money because you're going to be stuck with inventory you can't move, and you're going to be out of business. So you try to find a nice medium so you can be competitive in whatever market that you're in, so you can stay in the business. But then at the same time, you set your wages or the value of your service at whatever you want to set it at, and the market will determine if it's too high or if it's too low. You can't tell somebody what to charge. Only black people do this too. Because I don't see, they charge black people. This nigga actually said that niggas should give discounts to people who Israel. So I'm supposed to just lose money because you black. I'm supposed to cut you with some slack because you in the word. Like, I ain't got a family to feed. Like, I ain't got rent to pay. And we don't do other people like that. A nigga will not walk in a store or look at white people selling stuff online trying to figure out how much it costs them to make something. You just cop it. Then they say it ain't right to sell a shirt for $50 and you only cost you $10 to make it. That's just being greedy. Whether it's being greedy or not, if that nigga want to charge $50 for it, that's his prerogative. Why is you counting this nigga's money? Hello? Hello?
Shalom.
Shalom. Yeah, like, why is you counting this nigga's money? Why do niggas do that? I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? And I had to really go all the way through and break this down for her. Like, nigga, that's no Overcharging is nothing, nigga. If I say I made cakes, nigga, and I want to charge $1,000 for my cakes, that's my prerogative. If you don't want to pay $1,000 for my cakes, then go holler at another nigga and buy it from him. Do you know what I'm saying? Cause nigga, I'm not going down on my price. I want 1,000. That's what you gonna pay, or you ain't gonna get no cake. I know niggas don't walk into these crackers establishment and only cost that cracker $50 to make them shoes. He want to charge me $150. You gonna go in there and buy that cracker shoes and throw them on your feet and walk out of the store. Niggas sell you some shoes, you trying to figure out how much he make. You charging too much. Nigga, what? I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Only black people. Black people always want a nigga to take a loss for them. I can't make no money. Niggas in the world feel like they want to shame niggas who do make money, and however they do make money, try to make you feel bad because you are fiscally successful. I don't understand that either. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just take it down to one thing, that niggas just be hating. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to see nobody doing good. You know what I'm saying? Got to try to make somebody feel like they unrighteous if they doing good, or whatever the case may be. And that stuff ain't cool. It just ain't cool. It ain't cool at all. Where I was going at, man, I can't even remember no more.
Psalm 79.
That's it. Psalm 79. These niggas crazy, man. All these niggas crazy. That junk just be pissing me off. That nigga was going in too and trying to make niggas feel like they was sinning because they gonna charge Psalm 79 and 7. Because they want to charge whatever they want to charge for their merchandise. You know what I'm saying? Charge whatever you want to charge for your merchandise, man. Because I'm going to be like this here. If it's too high for me and my budget, I'm going to say I'm not going to buy it. I don't care who it is. White, black, whoever. If I like it, I don't care how much it costs. I'm going to buy it because I want it. So I don't care how much it costs you to make it. I don't care how much profit you're getting from it. That's what I wanted, so I'm going to buy it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's how I was always felt. Whether whoever was selling it. You make it, I like it, I don't care what you charging for it. Psalm 79 and 6. He say, pour out thy wrath upon the heathen that have not known thee, and upon the kingdoms that have not called upon thy name. For they have devoured Jacob, and laid waste his dwelling place. O remember not against us former iniquities. Let thy tender mercies speedily prevent us, for we are brought very low. Help us, O Elohim of our salvation, for the esteem of thy name. Deliver us, and purge away our sins for thy name's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is their Elohim? Let him be known among the heathen in our sight by the revenging of the blood of thy servants which is shed. He sat back and said, don't let them say where's their Elohim, because that's what these people want to do, which is what he's referencing in Nehemiah. And if you can't catch on to some of them verses, which we're not finna expound on in deep detail right now at this moment, you should be able to tell that this is the death of Mashiach and then his return to avenge his blood on the people who shed it. Abigail, you can't climb up here right now. Epistle of Jude, in verse 14. Abigail, come here, Abigail. Come here, Abigail. Epistle of Jude, verse 14. And Enoch also the seventh from Adam prophesied of these, saying, behold, Yahuwah come with 10,000 of his Kadeshim, to execute judgment upon all, and to against all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and all of their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Because these people love to run their mouth against this man. Now let's go back to Nehemiah chapter 5. And this is what the issue of what made Nehemiah mad is that these people seen this. That we had already been sold unto the heathen, and now we were selling our own brethren. And that these people didn't care that they was charging interest. And to be told, as we go forth, if you go forth through the more of the chapter, they turned around and did it some more right after the fact. Did it right back again after Nehemiah went off on them. Come back to Exodus chapter 21 though. But we good in Nehemiah chapter 5. Just giving you an example of what he's talking about. about selling your people. Now he said there was nobody that had the ability to redeem them. Let me make sure and double check that. That I didn't say it wrong. Said they after their ability redeemed their brethren which was sold unto the heathen. So let's look at something. Since we're looking at that and saying that woman can't go out like the manservant. So we know you got the Goyim, and that's nations of people for the heathen. But let's look at the word redeemed anyway. And we know that's the good old kana, or to acquire, or to buy, or to possess. And then again, looking at ability one more time, which is the dahi, and that's the sufficiency or enough. What sufficiency did he have to buy or possess his brethren back from the heathen, which is what you seen in Psalm 79. Let's go back to Exodus 21 and try to put the puzzle together. We're in verse 7 again. If a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. Listen in verse 8. If she please not her master, who have betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation he shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. Now there's a yes, Gail. Yeah. What you trying to do, Gail? So let's look at that. We're in Exodus 21. And let's look at that word manner in verse 9. And that word manner is the same word for judgment, which is mishpat. So you got to sit back and say you're going to have to deal with her of the judgment of daughters. You're going to have to deal uprightly and justly with her. So that she please not her master who have betrothed her to himself. Well, let's look back and let's see this. Number one, let's see if you had been sold, like we read in Nehemiah. But let's sit back and look at, if she please not her master who has betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. So let's sit back and see if she had been betrothed to her master and did not please her master. Isaiah chapter 50. And verse 1. Abigail. What you doing over there, Abigail? I know you got something. Isaiah 50 and 1. Thus saith Yahuwah, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities have you sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. Now recall now what we're looking at in Exodus 21. It says if she doesn't please her master who betrothed her to himself, then she can be redeemed. Pause. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 24 and 1. We're going to have to look at that aspect of the law in it right now. Deuteronomy 24 and 1. Deuteronomy 24 and 1. When we look at the word for creditors in Isaiah 51, that is nashah, and that's to lend or to be a creditor. Exact or an extortioner, or lend or usury, or to take on the usury, to take on that interest. And we have to determine who is the creditor to who he sold us to. Now he told us your iniquities you sold yourself. Your sins is what caused you to be sold. We got to realize who will we sold to for him to be able to redeem us if he betrothed her to himself and then we did not please her. Please him, my apologies. Deuteronomy 24 and 1. Say, when a man have taken a wife and married her, and it came to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he had found some uncleanliness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it to her in her hands and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand and send her out of his house, or if the latter husband die which took her to be his wife, her former husband which sent her away may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled. For that is an abomination before Yahuwah, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which Yahuwah thy Elohim give thee for an inheritance. Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 1. And y'all willing, we still will, when we get to Deuteronomy, revisit that Deuteronomy 24. Jeremiah 3 and 1. See a chapter 2, but I don't. There it is. They say, if a man shall put away his wife, and she go from him and become another's man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not the land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, saith Yahuwah. Now again, this is dealing with a woman who does not please her master, and he has betrothed her to himself. Then he can let her be redeemed, but he can't sell her to a strange nation because she don't have no power. Then he would have dealt deceitfully with her. So let's look at this again. Abigail is not pleased. And let's look at the betrothal. Hosea chapter 2. Matter of fact, before Hosea chapter 2, Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 1. Again, the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. And say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim unto Jerusalem, thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. You should know this is Abraham and Sarah. And as for thy nativity in the day that thou was born, thy navel was not cut, neither was thou washed in water to supple thee. Thou was not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. None I pitied thee, to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee. But thou was cast into the open field to the loathing of thy person in the day that thou was born. If you can remember from Deuteronomy chapter 7, he told you that he chose you above all people that was upon the face of the earth because of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, not because you were the most people on the earth, because you were the fewest, but because he loved you and that he would perform the promises that he made to our forefathers. And when you turn around and you look at us right now, even with the case in point, what we were talking about earlier, what's been talked about in the land, with the kneeling and an anthem and all of that stuff, and you can sit around and see how nobody pities you and how everybody loathes you in every move that you make and everything that you do. Nobody has any love for you. Nobody. Knowing that these people don't have no love for us whatsoever, it would make sense that if we take in consideration what we looked at Wednesday, to draw unto the man who actually loved you to not go out of bondage without you. He didn't want to go out without you. He said, I will not go out. I love my master. I love my wife. I love my children. I will take this all and be bored through this doorpost and stay with you forever. So you have to consider that, because nobody else has pity upon your groans. Like we seen in Exodus 2 last week. Nobody else has pity upon your cries. Well, because we talked about that on the last day of Tabernacles. Right? He say, pray that men are always to pray and not to faint. And that though we come to this man continually, saying, avenge us of our adversary, in due time he will avenge us of our adversary and avenge us speedily. But will he find faith upon the earth when he returns? Because we can't get so caught up in that we want this man to destroy our enemies, and yet we don't have any faith for him upon his return. Because then we won't receive any reward from him, and that same vengeance that we want him to render unto them shall be rendered unto us. It's the same thing you just seen in Psalm 79. We say, avenge that blood that was sped. They taken down Jacob. They trodden down his dwelling place. Because they trodden down Mashiach, and now he dwell in us and we dwell in him, and they trodden us down. They're trodden us down. So you supposed to sit back and think upon that about making your supplications unto your maker. Because nobody has any pity upon you. No one cares anything about you other than Yahuwah. Just to be quite flat out honest. Ain't a single solitary nation of people on this earth care nothing about what you going through at all. They don't care. That's why they can sit back and say, see, I was going to post this other day, but I just chose not to. If you look at what these people do, this is what they do. You're an athlete. You make millions of dollars. You're not being oppressed. You're not being oppressed. The reason why they say this is because they've always done this to any black person who elevates from the group. And they want to cause you to have a mental and emotional and spiritual separation and disconnect from the people in the ghettos and slums who you have left now because of your fiscal success. They don't want you to identify as we and us. They just want you to identify as I. I'm not being oppressed. It doesn't matter that the people in the neighborhood that you once dwell are continually being oppressed. This is what Caucasians do because they like to divide and conquer. That's how they rule. That's how they kick their game. That if they can cause these athletes to sit back and say, you're not a part of that anymore because I've taken you from your little nigger friends. I give you nice little cars to drive and your little jewelry to shine in and your big houses to live in. And I know I give you everything. You don't need to connect with them anymore. You don't need to identify with them anymore. So therefore, separate yourself from that identification and no longer reference yourself as being a part of them. Because they don't care nothing about us. And they show us consistently that they don't care nothing about us. And we seem to be shocked by it every single solitary year that they show you that they don't care nothing about you. I do not know how black people ever felt like this place and these people cared about us, because I don't even think they've had a 2.5-year run consistently where they showed they cared about us. Screw 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I don't even think they got 6 months under their belt where they can consistently say they showed that they care about black people as in a consensus fashion. Screw 2.5 years, screw 30 months. They ain't got 6 months straight. And it seems like every time something happened, you shocked. Oh man, why they do us like this? Why they do us like this? What do you mean? When have they not done it? That's the question you should be asked. You should be shocked if they treat you nicely. If they treat you with respect and honor that you're due. You should be shocked by that. Not shocked they treat you like a brute beast that they see you as. But remember, like he said, nobody else pitied you. Nobody else had compassion upon you. This is why Solomon had in his prayer that you have mercy on us, to cause the people who led us captive to have compassion on us if we turn back and serve him. Which is why Romans 13 say they're not a threat to anybody who do good, because Yah would cause these people to leave you alone. (16:6). And when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thy own blood, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou was in thy blood, live. And I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxed and great, and thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breasts are fashioned, thy hair is grown, whereas thou was naked and bare. And now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness, and I swear unto thee, and enter into a covenant with thee, saith Yahuwah Elohim, and thou became mine. So let's look at Hosea chapter 2, and then take that to Mashiach to show you how this woman was betrothed unto him, or to the son part, because we did read that part with the son. And we're just working all the way around. Hosea 2 and 11. Hey, Leah, what are you doing? Come here, Leah. No, we don't want 2 and 11. 2 and 14. Come here, Leah. Come here. What are you doing? I don't know what that means. You need to talk. You're doing what? Okay, then. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, and bring her into the wilderness. Actually, we just drop down to verse 19. Yes, well, we'll read verse 14. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. And speak comfortably unto her. And I will give her vineyards from thence in the valley of Achor for a door of hope. And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Mizraim. And it shall be at that day, saith Yahuwah, thou shalt not call me Ishi, but thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Belai. For I will take away the names of Balaam out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of Shamahim, with the creeping things of the ground, and I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. And I will betroth thee unto me forever. I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness, and in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercies, and I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know Yahuwah. Now keep in point. The law says if she doesn't please her master, who have betrothed her to himself, then she can be redeemed. He cannot sell her to a strange nation. He shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. So before we deal with the first half, let's deal with the second half, because we already read the second half to a certain extent. This man said that what creditors did he sell you to? He said, I haven't sold you to any creditors. He said, you sold yourself. So I'm just showing you how Yah kept his own law. He did not sell you. You sold yourself. Your iniquities called you to be sold to a strange nation. Let's see how. Pause. We'll look in the law yet again. Deuteronomy 28. Like I say, we might not get that deep. It might get a little bit boring, because it ain't going to be nothing exciting necessarily. But y'all willing, you get some understand this law, because this man betrothed you to himself. We see that from Hosea 2. We've seen that in Ezekiel 16. Isaiah 54 and 5 tell you he's married unto you. He's your husband. We got to deal with the part where we say I spread my skirt over you because it was a time of love, and entered a covenant with you, and you became mine. To him, that you to be betrothed unto him, to make you his wife, to allow you to be redeemed, because you didn't please him. How come you didn't please him? Because we read it in Jeremiah. You sought many lovers. You served many gods. You violated what we read Wednesday in that first commandment in Exodus chapter 20 of those 10. You served another god. You made another god other than Yahuwah. And you bowed down and worshipped it. And you made him unto corruptible beasts. So you sold yourself. Let that be known. There will be no blaming for Yahuwah for your captivity. You blame yourself for it. You sold yourself. Because if he would have sold you, he would have violated the law, and he would have been judged a sinner and unjust. That's why he say, which of my creditors did I sell you to? There's a reason why he made that statement in Isaiah chapter 50. And you supposed to know the law well enough to know, oh, you ain't sell up to nobody. Oh, he talking about Exodus. He ain't do that. He betrothed us unto himself. We did not please him. He did not sell us. We sold ourselves. Deuteronomy 28, though. Yeah. Deuteronomy 28 and 36. Come here, Elizabeth. Yahuwah shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a byword, and a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither Yahuwah shall lead thee. Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken. He said, you got to go serve another people. I think he told you this in Ezekiel. And it was your sins that caused this to happen to you. Ezekiel chapter 5. Let me make sure this is what I want. That ain't what I'm looking for. That is not what I'm looking for. That is not. Give me a second, because that is not what I'm looking for. I know what I wanted, and it's not it. Are you going to bed now, Leah? My bad. That's Jeremiah chapter 5 and not Ezekiel. That's where the problem came in at. Jeremiah 5. And I always think about the book of Ezekiel with that verse too. 5 and about 17. Make it 15. Lo. Jeremiah 5 and 15. Lo, I will bring a nation upon you from far, O house of Yasharal, saith Yahuwah. It is a mighty nation. It is an ancient nation. A nation whose language thou know not, neither understand what they say. Their quiver is an open sepulchre. They are all mighty men. They shall eat up thy harvest and thy bread, which thy sons and thy daughters should eat. They shall eat up thy flocks and thy herds, and they shall eat up thy vines and thy fig trees, and they shall impoverish thy fenced cities, wherein thou trusted with the sword. Nevertheless, in those days, saith Yahuwah, I will not make a full end with you. And it shall come to pass, when ye shall say, Wherefore do Yahuwah Elohim all these things unto us? Then shall thou answer them, Like as you have forsaken me and served strange gods in your land, so shall you serve strangers in a land that is not yours. So again, he can't sell you unto a strange nation. You sold yourself unto a strange nation. So understand that and know that when you see this in the law. He did not sell you to a strange nation. You sold yourself. Because he can't sell you. Because it said he betrothed you to himself. And if you find himself not pleased with you, he can let somebody purchase you. He can let somebody purchase you if he ain't pleased with you. We know he wasn't pleased with you. Let's see why again. Luke chapter 19. He wasn't pleased with you. We've been a transgressor from the womb, steadily and consistently being disobedient, unbelieving and faithless, consistently. This is Luke 19.
Just like go at that in Romans when he said, "Get your members over."
Say what? Say what?
You heard me?
Say what?
So that go at that Romans when he said, "Don't give your members to my right."
No, don't lend them over. Now that don't go to necessarily having no reprobate mind, DC. That just go on the fact that you sold yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that was what DC was texting. Luke 19 ain't what I want though. Luke 19 is not what I want. Ain't where's that? Well, swing around here. Oh, there we go. That was what I wanted. Luke 19 was what I wanted. I just was overlooking it. 19 and 41. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou had known, even thou, at least in this day, the things which belong unto thy shalom, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For they shall come upon thee, that thy enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. And they shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knew not the time of thy visitation. Because why were you being visited? You sold yourself to these people, so you ain't got no other choice but to serve them. That's on you. That's not on Yahuwah. Now he has to be able to redeem you. Because he said you sold yourselves or not, you'll be redeemed without money. So you should already know what this redemption process is. He says if he's betrothed you to himself, and you don't please her, and she don't please you, then you can allow her to be bought. We can already see we have not pleased him. That's what we read in Deuteronomy 24:1. Find some manner of uncleanliness. We found what the uncleanliness was. It was idolatry. He can allow you to be purchased. Now, just for informational sake, for those who may come later and see this who don't know, most of y'all should know the redemption process. We know from Matthew 20:27, he said he came to make himself a ransom for many. He came to be that redemption and to redeem you and to buy you back from your enemies. Luke 1:71. And then after that, 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Abigail sleep. What was wrong with her? She just wanted to be held. Oh, Abigail. Big baby. Make it 70. And as he spake by the mouth of his Kadesh prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his Kadesh covenant, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear. That's going back to Nehemiah, because it said it was in the ability of the Yahudim to buy their brethren. To purchase them back from the heathen, from the strange nation, the nation that you sold yourself to, of which Yahuwah could not sell you to. Now let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 1, and let's look at it spiritually even more, who this strange nation would be, who we were sold to, that we sold ourselves to, that we might be redeemed back from. Because we know he betrothed us unto himself. Matter of fact, before I do that, we got to deal with the covering of the skirt and becoming yours and entering into the covenant. Matthew 26 and 26. Let's do that first. You put the rest on the bed. I figured as much because he back there hollering. Come here, Lizzie. Matthew 26 and 26. Are those yours? You can't fit them. Come here, Elizabeth. Come on. Sit down. Sit right here. On the floor. On the floor. Sit on the floor. Sit down. And it was as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and baruched it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, "Drink ye all of it, for this is the blood of my New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins." Now, the master's sitting down drinking this cup. Why did we come here? Because he say, when I saw you, it was a time of love. He said it was a time of love. We kind of talked about that a little bit on Wednesday. Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So when Mashiach is about to get ready to die, it is a time of love. And now he's getting ready to spread his skirt to cover your nakedness. Because remember, he said, "Take, drink, for this is the New Testament, which is shed for the remission of sins," which is to cover you. Let's look at Acts 5 and 30, I suppose. And then Revelation 16 and 15. Because he found no favor in you, so you need to be redeemed. You need to be purchased. You need to be bought back from this strange nation, whom you knew not. This God that you've been serving, whom your fathers knew not. Acts 5 and 30. 29 is good. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, "We ought to obey Elohim rather than men. The Elohim of our fathers raised up Yahushua, whom you slew and hanged on a tree. Him have Elohim exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance to Yasharal and forgiveness of sins." Now let's look at Revelation 16 and 15. We kind of talked about this a little bit the other day, but Romans 13 and 14 tells you to put on Yahushua HaMashiach and make no provisions for the lusts of the flesh to fulfill them thereof. Because that is your skirt to cover your nakedness. What is your nakedness? It is your sin. And in that time of love, with this man shedding his blood, he's giving you something to be able to cover yourself, to take that skirt to cover thee, so he can enter into a covenant with thee. So when you took that cup, you saying this is the blood of the New Testament. You say, I'm entering into a covenant with him. You say when you got immersed, you say, I'm entering into a covenant with him. because each of these instances are showing the time of love. The time of love when he sat down to drink the cup to prepare to die. The immersion because he did die. He loved you enough to lay his life down for you. So now you saying, I'm entering into this covenant, and these things cover your sins. And now you're one with him. You've been betrothed unto him, so he can buy you back because you did not please your master. You didn't please your husband. So that husband allowed someone else to buy you. Couldn't sell you to a stranger. He had to sell you to another Hebrew. You got to sit back and look at this now. That Exodus 21, that Hebrew can't sell this maidservant who couldn't go out like the manservant went out. He couldn't sell her to a Philistine, can't sell her to an Edomite, can't sell her to a Moabite, can't sell her to an Ishmaelite, can't sell her to an Ammonite. He got to sell her to another Hebrew. So when that takes us back to what we talked about and on Wednesday, when we seen the master say, mine or thine, thine or mine, the son and the father are one. Therefore the father can allow the son to redeem that of which he did not find favor in. Because we didn't read all the way through in Ezekiel 16. Yah did not find favor with Yasharal. He found uncleanliness in her. We just used Isaiah 50:1 for the reference point for that particular topic to show that he was not pleased. And also the Jeremiah 5, we find out that he was not pleased. What was he not pleased with? What was the uncleanliness? And the Jeremiah 3:1, we had laid with many different lovers. We had served other gods. Therefore, he can allow someone else to redeem her, because he can't sell her to a strange nation. Therefore, he would have dealt deceitfully or falsely with her. Again, this is reiterating why he said, which one of my creditors have I sold you to? Taking into account that Yah cannot lay, the law say you can't charge your brother interest, only a stranger, showing you how this man keeps his own law even in dealing with us while we were in our sins. This man still kept his own law towards us. Therefore there is no excuse for any man, woman, or child not to keep this man law when this man is keeping it himself. And manifesting that through his actions, through our own disobedience, he is showing you the righteousness, the power, and the love of Elohim and his justice, and keeping his law towards us and not going against it. 16 and 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Baruch is he that watch and keep his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Now he told you if you watch, we know what we watching is you keeping that word so you can have your garments. Because if you ain't have your garment, that means you walking out of pocket. See, a lot of niggas walk out of pocket. Now we just told one of the brothers this here, and everybody know about it because they're open, so we're not going to deal with the specifics or even call the name. But those of you know, you know. You just can't sit back and be out of pocket and then pop up and act like it's all gravy, because that man gonna shame you with that. You can return, you can be forgiven, and we gonna carry along. But see, a lot of time we feel like I can just go off, do whatever it is that I want to do, and then think you can just return to Yahuwah like it's nothing. And that's how Yasharal always felt. We didn't read that verse in Hosea chapter 2 when he said, hey man, you left with your lovers, and now you want to come back home and say it was better for me for my first husband now. See, that's what we like to do. See, we like to rankle and play with sin. And then when we tired of playing with it, let me come on back home because I'm tired. And you can come back home, but you can't come back home and think just like there's not going to be no acknowledgement to it. Because the difference of it is this here. Because see, what popping in my head is the Luke 15. He said how the Malachim rejoice over one sinner that repent. And they truly do. But when we know better, like we read in Revelation 3, he said you need to hold fast that which you have heard, because I haven't found your works perfect before Elohim. You need to strengthen the things that are ready to die. When we done sat back and say, okay, I've entered into a covenant with this man to serve this man and proclaim this man to be my husband and I to be his bride, it don't work like that. Because you had already agreed to the terms and conditions of marriage, and you knew what you were doing, and you chose to play the harlot. And now once you got tired of playing the harlot, now you want to come back home and act like you've been this faithful and just and upright wife. And it doesn't work that way with him. There's going to have to be a purging process or a chastisement process that only he can execute. The only discipline to get whatever it was that you had in you to cause you to go play the harlot in the first place, to get it out. To get it out. We done talked about that before, and Job, he tell you, go on, let's go ahead and get it. Screw it. Job 33. Because somebody need, because we were talking about this the other day, and I ain't pull it out. Let's go ahead and pull it out right now. Ain't heard nothing. And this is what he had to do to his wife to get her redeemed. You going to have to be chastised. See, we don't like that chastisement, because when we look at the word chastisement in Hebrew, we're just telling you got to be taught. You just got to be taught. Job 33 and 15. You just got to be taught. You just got to be disciplined. That's all. He told you don't despise the discipline of Yah, the chastening of Yah, the teaching of Yah, for whom Yah loveth he chasten. Sometimes I like this here, right? I feel like as a people, we don't want the, and I mentioned this on Tabernacles too, and it's just because it's not on tape. We don't be wanting that chastening and discipline because we be feeling that our way is right, and that what we want is right, and that I'm going to try to make what I want and my way to be Yah's way. So then he has to chasten and discipline that up out of you, so you can see that your way is the wrong way and that his way is the right way, and what you want is dumb, and that you should want what he wants. When you want what he wants, then you can get blessings of which you can't even fathom. That you can get an understanding that surpasses all things. You know what I'm saying? That you can get a shalom of which you cannot understand. But until we try to get our hearts, minds, and spirits in line with his heart, mind, and spirit, then we're going to continue to wrestle and falter and fall and stumble until we get there. And that's what I mean by you just can't slide back through and just act like it's all gravy. You're going to need to start getting ready to prepare your hearts and minds for the discipline and chastening that is to come. And can your heart endure it when it comes? (33 and 14). Job. For Elohim speak once, yea twice, yet man perceive it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep fall upon men and slumberings upon the bed. Then he opened the ears of men and sealed their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. He keep back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. He is chastened also with pain upon his bed, and the multitudes of his bones with strong pain. So that his life abhorred bread and his soul dainty meat. You know, that's them just trying to shoot him the vinegar and all this stuff. You know, we done dealt with this in the past, but we're going to keep it moving. Drop down to verse 27, though. Listen to what he say in verse 27, though. And then we will swing to Romans chapter 6 and look at that strange people, that strange nation, the creditor of which you sold yourself to, and all of that. And bring it all full circle, you who are willing. He looked upon men, and if any say, I have sinned, and I have perverted that which was right, and it profited me not. He looked upon men, and if any say, I have sinned, and perverted that which was right, and it profited me not. You know, that's a lot of things that people don't sit back and want to be able to do and say, I have sinned and I have caused what is right to be perverted, and I didn't get any gain from it. Because see, that's the part of the game that we don't want to look at. And we don't want to look at the stuff that we be doing and the stuff that we going after ain't right, and we are perverting what is right, and you ain't getting no profit from it. But nobody wants to say that. Because that's going to take some level of humility. That's going to take some acknowledgement of stuff that nobody wants to do. And that word for perverted in that verse is avah. And that word means to bend, to twist, to distort, but also to do wrong or to commit iniquity. So he say he look upon men, and if he say, if any man say, I have sinned and done iniquity to that which is right, or twisted or distorted. Hold on. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. so we can look at what he means by distorting or twisting and perverting that which is right. Because a lot of people do take the word and try to twist it and pervert what is right for their own fleshly gain. And we still got 2 Corinthians 11 on deck and many other things. And if we don't do nothing but deal with this one particular matter tonight, then praise be to Yah. Because it's just a continuation from what we started on Wednesday anyway. Y'all willing, we going to be alive. We ain't in no rush. Because I believe the law, I know that the law is the most misunderstood thing in the entire text. A thing that most people don't have no knowledge. They only go to the law to point out the things that they want to ride on Christians for, or the things they feel like we got to be Hebraic, instead of actually understanding the loving kindness, mercies, and salvation of Yahuwah. That's the stuff niggas missing. Because remember, we got to deal with that too. Because he said he betrothed you in faithfulness and in judgment and in loving kindness. All of these things are attached to how he betrothed you. And because you didn't please him, he caused you to be redeemed to another man to betroth you in that same fashion. And we could be able to take that to show how he did that to your ancestors before he sent you to the man who could redeem you, because you broke the covenant and sold yourself because you were evil and you were wicked and you were disobedient. And even in the case of that, this man putting his law away for you to be able. Because remember the KBN. The woman servant couldn't go out, but the man servant could. Yahushua could go out and leave, but the woman couldn't. She had to be redeemed. Follow and pay attention to the law and see how it is your schoolmaster to bring you to Mashiach. But that's the part that I didn't even focus on. It hit my mind. I didn't focus on it, so we had to do it. In that verse 2, it said that Hebrew manservant could go out free in the 7th year. When this man resurrected from the dead, he could go out free, but that woman can't go. Yasharal couldn't go. Somebody had to buy her. Somebody had to buy her. Because that woman servant can't go out free like the man servant. Somebody got to buy her. So then you sit back and you see Yahushua the one to come to buy you. He came and bought you. So this man that came and bought you, you need to consider. And it makes the points that we're going to read in Paul's letters even stronger about this man buying you with his own blood, about this man buying you with his body. And maybe now you can actually begin to fathom and understand how much this man loved you, versus, oh man, Mashiach's in this verse too. Actually understand how much this man loved you, and how about you love him back. Because it's not no game, because you violating the Torah all over the place, and you seeing all the provisions, like it said in 2 Samuel, how he devised a plan to bring his people back to him, to bring his banished back. You've been banished. He set up a plan to get you back, and the plan was set from the foundation of the world, just like the man said. The plan is set in his law. These just ain't laws for law's sake. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not. But we renounce the hidden things of dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of Elohim deceitfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of Elohim. You need to be renouncing the hidden things of dishonesty, and definitely not holding this man's word and craftiness, trying to lay in wait to deceive, and perverting and distorting his word for your own selfish gain, which many men and women seek to do on a daily basis. Come on back to Job 33 though. I didn't want you to know this here, right? If you've been out of pocket, just get ready to get bust upside your head. It'll be good for you in the end if you could endure it. Job 33 and 27 again. He look upon men, and if any say, I have sinned and perverted that which was right, and it profited me not, he will deliver his soul from going into the pit, and his life shall see the light. Lo, all these things work Elohim oftentimes with man, to bring back his soul from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living. He said all these things that Elohim do with man to spare him from death, so he could get everlasting life. Say oftentimes. I mean, he does it a lot. He does it a lot. Romans 6 and 16. Hey, Lizzie and Leah, What are you talking about over there? Who are you talking about over there? 6 and 15. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under Torah, but under favor? Elohim forbid. Know ye not that to whom you yield your servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness? So who is this strange nation that you sold yourself to on the spiritual level? Ye of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. For he was a murderer from the beginning, and he abode not in the truth. So that strange nation is the adversary, is the devil, because he has power over death, because he is the father. He's a sinner. That's what he did. He's the father of lies. He spoke the first one. He's the father of it. So consider that, because if you serving the devil, you definitely strange. Strange as in peculiar and odd, because it's an odd thing to go against the living Elohim. Very odd thing. Men do it every day though. He said, but Elohim be thanked that you were the servants of sin, but you have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you. Being made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. What freed you? But what we already read, how Yahusha became the propitiation of your sins. How he said, this is my blood, which is shed for many for the remission of sins, that he was for repentance and forgiveness of sins, to cover you. To cover you. To cover your iniquities, and to deliver you from the hand of strange children who have a right hand of falsehood and speak vanity. Because the adversary speaks vanity, worthless things, and we know that he's a liar. Because he is that right hand for the nations, for these strange children, because he is their father, and he is a liar. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as you have yielded your member servants to uncleanliness and to iniquity, even so now yield your member servants to righteousness unto Kadash. For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. What fruit had ye in those things whereof you are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death. That's the question you got to ask yourself. What fruit did any of you had in anything you were doing that were contrary to the word, knowing they were death? And knowing if you ain't had no fruit in those things, why would you go back? Why would you even consider going back? Why would you place yourself in situations to go back? And that goes back to what I mentioned before. Why do we not want what Yahuwah wants versus what we want? Because the things that you want will usually lead you to death, if they're outside of his will, and we know his will is in line with what's in his word. So you have to have wisdom and discernment to understand what I'm saying. Because I mean, if you saying, because you know some people be nitpicking, if you want some nuggets from Chick-fil-A, that doesn't make you're gonna die and go to hell. Because you want a particular job or a particular business doesn't mean you're gonna die and go to hell. What it means is, if you want these things, will these things cause you to get outside of his will? Because if anything would cause you to get outside of his will, then that's not something that you want. Because clearly that's not something that Yah wants. Because Yah doesn't want you to do anything that will take you outside of his will, outside of his pathway and his order. That's the wisdom that you got to have. People desire things that get you outside the will of Yah. That's what we have to be on guard of, not allowing what we want to take us outside of his will, which is always going to take us back to the statement of Mashiach. Not my will be done, but thy will be done. Not my will be done, but thy will be done. So his will, what he wanted, was not as important to the will of his father. The will of his father had to win out over what he wanted. This is when you begin to actually show yourself to be the servants and sons and daughters of the living Elohim, when his will is trumping your desires. This is when you actually show yourself to have Mashiach in you and you to be in him, when his will trumps your desire. You can sit back and say, please, Father, I really want this, but not my will be done, thy will be done. And actually go in the direction of your Father's will versus what you desire. This is when you show yourself to be like Mashiach. Because that's what he did. I don't want to die, but if I gotta die, that's what's going to have to be. And I'm going to not resist your will to try to fulfill my own. That's why he said, if any man say I've sinned and perverted that which is right, and it profited me not, what profit have you in those things which bring forth death? What gain did you get from perverting what is right and sinning? What was the profit? If it wasn't no gain from it, then why would you try to do it again in a different place or with a different face? Doesn't make any sense. He said, but now being made free from sin and become servants to Elohim, you have your fruit unto Kadash, and the end everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yahushua HaMashiach our Master. The wages of sin is death. That's your payment. That's the creditor. That's the creditor. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. And 1. Would to Elohim you could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. For I am jealous over you with a godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Mashiach. But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Mashiach. For he that come preach another Yahushua, whom we have not preached, or if you have received another Ruach, which you have not received, or another gospel, which you have not accepted, you might bear well with him. So now you've been espoused to Mashiach as a chaste virgin. So let's look at all of these things what caused your espousal. And let's see if Mashiach brought these forth so he could be able to redeem you. Let me finish Exodus 21 and read verse 8 again. And let's look at that. If she please not her master who have betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation he shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then she shall go out free without money. Now we'll get back to the last two, which is dealing with taking another wife. But he also said if he gave her to a son, his son, he has to deal with her after the law of daughters. Now, we have to deal with what the judgment of dealing with a daughter is. And one of those instances is in Numbers 36 or 37, if I'm not mistaken, which if he died without any sons, she has to get the same manner of inheritance that would have went to the first son. So, dealing with the manner of daughter, pray the Lamb. We'll work it like that. Pray the Lamb. That's how we're going to do it. So, let's look at Hosea chapter 2 and look at that betrothal and tie all this together and slide and deal with them two wives. And then we'll leave that alone for Exodus chapter 21. That's where we'll stop. Because then the next thing process going to start dealing with murder and fighting. And we will not commingle those two topics together. We'll let this topic right here stand alone, and y'all will on tomorrow deal with that, with the murder and the strife and all that good old stuff like that. That way we won't be trying to stack layers on top of layers and make it too hard to decipher and to wade through. Try to keep it as simple as possible. When we look at Hosea chapter 2, right? And we look at the things of how he said that he would betroth you. And he told you that he would betroth you. Let's look at the first thing that he said he would do. He would betroth you unto him in righteousness, judgment, loving kindness, and mercies. Now, loving kindness and mercies is pretty much the same thing. So, Let's look at righteousness and let's look at the judgment and see if he betrothed you in this fashion. Matter of fact, we're going to have to take it from the Father doing it and the Son doing it. That's the only just way to do it, to sit back and say if he gave unto a son. That's the best way to do it. So let's look at betrothing you to him in righteousness first and foremost. Exodus chapter 12. We'll deal with the Father first, Son second. It's the only way to do it. Exodus chapter 12. And 5. Did you get you a cinnamon roll, man? Did you want a cinnamon roll? I didn't think so. We all ate those cinnamon rolls. Abby liked them cinnamon rolls. Exodus 12 and 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall kill it in the evening. And you shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in the night, and roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs, and they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden all the water, but roast with fire, and his head with his legs, with the pertinence thereof. Drop to verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Mizraim this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Mizraim I will execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mizraim. And in this day shall be unto you for a memorial. And you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. And you shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. So, the first thing we actually see, righteousness and judgment in the same thing. What is the righteousness? The righteousness is you believe in Yahuwah by putting the blood upon your doorposts. Let's see the righteousness as it pertains to Yahushua, and then we'll deal with the judgment. John chapter 8. John chapter 8 and about verse 12. And this will take us back to when he's saying that when you are chastened, you will receive the light or everlasting life. And we'll go to Colossians 1 after this. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that follow me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, Thou bear record of thyself, thy record is not true. Yahushua answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true. For I know whence I came and whither I go, but you cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. Yet if I judge, my judgment is true. I am not alone, but I and the Father that hath sent me. It is written in your Torah that the testimony of two men is true. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that sent me bear witness of me. Because we talked about this, and y'all will, like I said, we'll have to work that in, and we'll probably work it in when we get to Deuteronomy. Or maybe even before then. But the first commandment, the greatest commandment, hear, O Yasharal, hear with the intent to do. Faith come by hearing, and hearing come by the word. So when he's telling you about his father bear witness of him, and he bear witness of himself, and it takes you back to Abraham believed Yahuwah, and he counted it to him for righteousness. For Abraham to believe Yahuwah, he had to hear. He had to hear the word and to believe it. For them to be judged, to be betrothed him in righteousness, even then he betrothed them in faith, because they had to hear the word of putting that lamb's blood on their doorposts. They had to hear that. They had to hear it. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I know I mentioned something else. For Colossians 1. We get to it in a second. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. 15 and 1. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the Besorah which I preached unto you, which also you have received, and wherein you stand. Remember, and we talked about the gospel of shalom, the good news of the destruction of the authority attached to chaos, the good news of the death. Because you got to look at it. That same Besorah shalom, that same gospel of peace, is what was preached to them before they came out of Egypt. Because they were getting the good news that they were going to be freed from captivity. When Moses came and he worked all them plagues and he did all of those things, they had already been given the good news that they were going to leave. Because the people were in chaos. The authority attached to that chaos was Pharaoh. And that blood of the Lamb destroyed that authority attached to chaos and fulfilled the good news, which was they were going to be free from bondage and go dwell in the land of rest, which was sworn to their fathers. You have to consider that the gospel of shalom is not new. It's been manifested in a different state than it was the first time, which is him betrothing us unto himself. But then we did not please him, so he had to let somebody else come redeem you, because he couldn't give you to a strange nation. And he said if he betrothed you to his son got to deal with you after the manner of daughters, after the judgment and ordinance and law of daughters. And we're going to sit back and see, if you know these epistles and you know this book, you know, guess what? Ain't no male or female. What you do for the son, you got to do for the daughter. And the law backed that up. He say, but I which also ye are saved, if you keep in memory what I preached unto you, lest you have believed in vain. And that's the key point. He say, this same gospel which have been preached to every one of you will profit every one of you if you keep it in your memory, if you lay it up in your heart. If not, everything that been preached has been for nothing. It was in vain. It was for nothing. I'll read it again. By which ye also ye are saved, if you keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless you have believed in vain. For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Mashiach died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the scriptures, and that he was seen of Cephas, and then of the 12. So then we look at that, right? He said, I delivered unto you what I received, that he died for our sins, and that he was buried. So now we also see, again, the judgment, the righteousness, the loving kindness, and the mercies. Because you should remember what we talked about in Romans chapter 7. It's not lawful for you to be married unto another man unless he be dead, but you are dead to the Torah through the body of Mashiach, that you might be married unto another. Because now this man has came and he has redeemed you. Because remember, I came to make myself a ransom for many. He came to redeem you, to purchase you, to buy you, because you did not please Yahuwah. So Yahuwah set up a plan to buy you back, therefore showing you the love of Elohim. So we did not love him. He first loved us. Knowing that he first loved us, we ought to love him who died and rose again, and not to live for ourselves. That's what you need to consider when you look at this ordinance and this law dealing with the manservant and the maidservant. Because pretty much what you done seen from verse 1 all the way to verse 9 is the love of Elohim. That's what you seen. Most of the time when you read it, you probably just thought it was an ordinance. An ordinance that was antiquated. An ordinance that didn't pertain to you, when it was really an ordinance of your salvation. Let's look at Galatians chapter 3 before I touch Colossians 1. 3:21. Is the Torah then against the promises of Elohim? Elohim forbid. As we can see, the Torah is not against the promises of Elohim. The Torah actually manifests and shows the promises of Elohim. Because he told you he would betroth you unto him in righteousness and loving kindness and in mercies and in faithfulness and in judgment. He told you that. Is the law then again? I'm sorry. He say, for if there had been a Torah given, which could have given life, truly righteousness should have been by the Torah. But the scripture have concluded all under sin, that the promise by faith of Yahushua HaMashiach might be given to them that believe. You see that? Concluded everybody's under sin, that those that might believe, that they might be saved, that they might receive forgiveness and get that promise of faith, to get your skirts covered, because get your sins, your nakedness covered, because it was the time of love. It was the time of love. You got to realize something. When he sat down to that Passover with his apostles, with his disciples, save Judas, because we can't count him as either. And he sat down to eat. It was the time of love. It was the time for him to manifest his love towards Elohim and towards his people, like we read, or towards his wife and towards his children, like we read in Exodus 21 on Wednesday. So knowing that it was the time of love and that he entered into a covenant with us that we could be his, we ought to consider that we ought to love our husband and to obey him in everything and to submit ourselves unto him, only because he submitted himself unto us first. He could have went out free on his own. He said, no, I love my wife and my kids and my master. I will stay with them. Consider that. Because most of these niggas is going to leave their wife and their kids behind and say, I'm free, baby. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to leave you behind. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be honest with you. Dealing in this society and this culture, I'm talking about Western culture and America specifically where we dwell, the average woman wouldn't even be able to recognize if a man had the love of Elohim towards her and showed it to her, because she would be looking from it from the Western viewpoint, mind frame, eyes, and perspective, and completely overlook it, because she would be looking for love in a different fashion versus the love that comes from Elohim. And the reason why I say that, because he said, Kadesh, Father, the world have not known thee, but I have known thee. And they didn't even have the Western distortion that we have. They couldn't recognize the love of Elohim because they were looking for it in the fashion that they felt like he should love them, or what they felt like love was to them versus what love is to Yahuwah, and they missed it. You know what I'm saying? And it's no different now, because we looking for love, the love of Elohim, to be how we want it to be, or how we feel it should be, how he should do it, that when somebody actually shows it, we miss it and actually miss the blessing that comes from anybody he sends in your path that has the love of Elohim in them to manifest it towards you. And we miss it. And we miss it. We don't want to end up like our forefathers and miss that. Whether it be during the time of Yahusha or whether it be during the time of Moses. We don't want to miss that. Because you're going to miss your blessing at that point. Whatever that blessing may be that that person has to give you, who has the love of Elohim in them. But before faith came, we were kept under the Torah, shut up unto faith, which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the Torah was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Mashiach, that we might be justified by faith. But after that faith is come, we are no longer under a schoolmaster. See, that law was supposed to teach you about Mashiach. See, these stupid niggas be telling you that's the Levitical priesthood. Got nothing to do with no Levitical priesthood. The Torah was the schoolmaster. It was to teach you about Yahusha. So when you saw him, you knew that he is the son of the living Elohim. Before we look at Colossians chapter 1, John chapter 7. Remember, he said he came unto his own received him not, because they could not see nor understand the love of Elohim. You know how many people in this world, probably through the courses of history, which is really, really long, 7 and 45, have probably looked the love and the blessings of Elohim right in their face and lost it because they couldn't recognize it when it was standing in their face, waving at them and showing them two forms of identification. Looked right past it and went to go love a strange nation, just like Yasharal did. Go love a strange nation. have the form of Elohim, but deny the righteousness thereof. That's what we like to do. We like the form, but not the real thing. See, that's what's wrong with Yasharal. See, we don't want to be authentic. Because being authentic is just being true to who you are. You know what I'm saying? Somebody, and like this here, right? And I probably done explained this in the past. And if I haven't, then my apologies. Because sometimes people like this here, okay, niggas say, oh, you say being a real man or being a real nigga. To me, it's the same thing. Because being real is being authentic to who you are and what you say you're about. Being real ain't nothing about being no killer. It ain't about being tough. It's not about any of that. It's about being who you are. Consistently, day in and day out. Not trying to be somebody else. Not trying to act like somebody else. Not trying to pretend to be something that you're not. If you're dumb, then you're just dumb and you own that. I'm not that smart. I'm not that bright. I'm not the sharpest knife in the box. And that's cool because that's being real. You know what I'm saying? When a nigga was hustling, I ain't no killer. I'm not trying to kill nobody. I'm not no gangster. I sell dope. I'm a businessman. I sell narcotics. If my life feels threatened, I will defend myself. And if that causes me to have to take your life, then so be it. I don't come out the door looking for that. I'm just trying to make some money. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. And I was true to that. Period. I ain't walk around talking about I'm going to kill a nigga. Nigga try me. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No. I will serve you narcotics though. You trying to get high, I got you. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here every day, all day. What? You know what I'm saying? This is my life. This is how I live my life. You know what I'm saying? I just seen my homeboy today, my nigga. And I just said my nigga. You know what I'm saying? This is my big homie cousin. We all grew up together. He ain't even that much older than me. We all about the same age. And we were just talking period about some stuff he trying to do. Some of the stuff I'm trying to do kind of in line with what he trying to do. But he was like, he always known. If I do something, then that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be true to that. Because if I'm not going to be true to it, then I'm not even going to do it. And I'm not going to present myself as I'm doing this, but in reality, I'm over here doing this because I'm not going to do that. And people will respect you more if you're just authentic. See, Yasharal's problem in the past and in the present and even in the future is that we like to front. And we like to be something that we're not on whatever level it is. You know what I'm saying? And this is why we don't never get healed. And when I say get healed, meaning allowing the word to work the healing in us to purge out whatever sins we got, because we don't want to acknowledge them, because you want to receive honor from men, so you want to promote yourself in this particular fashion instead of just being that this is me. And this is what I got going on. And I need help. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. Because we want to keep up an image. You want to keep up this here. Or niggas want to pretend to be this here. But in reality, the worst part is here, right? And I'm going to leave it alone. Like that nigga Jay spit on Takeover. He was like, you know, don't make me expose you to the folks that don't know you. Because you know it's niggas that will pretend to be this, that, there, and the third. And people don't know you. But you forget it's niggas that know you. Know the real you and how you really roll, and that the image that you are purporting to the public or the people who may not know you very well is not you. That ain't you. That's not the real you. I've always been, what you see is what you get. And that's how we got to be. When you saw Yahusha, what you saw, that's what you got. That's being real. It's being authentic. It's being honest and upfront about who you are. And niggas be flogging and fronting. If you a hoe, then say you a hoe. Male or female. You know what I'm saying? If you a slime ball, if you a no good person, then say that. If you're a sweet, gentle, kind, loving, thoughtful, and selfless person, that's going to be able to be seen, because you can't fake that for a long time. See, that's the one thing about it, right? You can pretend, but only for so long, because who you really are is going to come out. And that's how you're able to determine who is real and who's not, because you can't play a movie role forever. Eventually, the cracks in the armor are going to show, and you're going to be exposed for who you really are. We already know the law say, we already know this book say, that man said, I'm going to pull your skirts up and cause you to be exposed and let your shame appear. That man is not going to let you sit around here fronting and flogging before he let people see you for who you really are and what type of time you really own. Nevertheless, 7:45. Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, Why have you not brought him? The officers answered, Never man spake like this man. Then answered the Pharisees, Are you also deceived? Have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed on him? But this people who know not the Torah are cursed. But this people who know not the law are cursed. And praise be to Yah for Yahusha. That's why we looking at it. Because you gonna know. If you don't know it by the time we get done with it, that's your fault. Because you gonna know it. And then you know, if you know it, then the opposite of curse. It says if they don't know it, who know it not, they curse. So then that we're going to take knowing it not to knowing. And if we take from knowing it not to knowing, then we got to take curse from being blessed. And if we take it from curse to being blessed, that means we take it from death to life. And if we take it from death to life, that means we take it from being disinherited to an inheritance, from a bastard to a son. That's the reason why we're going through all this here. That's the reason why. That's what we're trying to go to. Ain't no time to be walking around here as a bastard no more. Colossians chapter 1. If I can get around there. I'm kind of moving kind of slow because I got a headache. Colossians 1 and 12. Make it 10. Matter of fact, make it 9. For this cause we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you, and to desire that you might be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, that you might walk worthy of the master, unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of Elohim. See, that's the key point, right? Because I know sometimes people sit back and they like to take little pot shots about how we put this dope on the street, when the whole reason why we put it on the street is to cause your knowledge in Elohim to increase, that you might actually have the knowledge of his will and to get spiritual understanding and have the wisdom or the skill to be able to fight. That's the whole purpose. Because when you have the wisdom and you have the spiritual understanding and you have the knowledge of his will and you increase in the knowledge of Elohim, that means the word is inside of you. And if the word is inside of you, that means everlasting life is inside of you. And if everlasting life is inside of you, that means at his return at the last trump, you will hear his voice and you will step out of that grave like Lazarus stepped out of his. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Attaining everlasting life. What else are you doing it for? Are you doing it for friends? Are you doing it for a wife? Are you doing it for a husband? Are you doing it for kids? Are you doing it for material gain or possessions? Or are you doing it for everlasting life? He says, seek ye the kingdom of Elohim first and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. You'll get all of that. And the reason why I mention that, because I go back to what I said before. If you seek Elohim first, then the things that he's going to add unto you are going to come from him. And if they come from him, then they're going to be a blessing of which you couldn't even fathom if you tried to seek it and do it on your own. Or do it partially with him and partially with you. But the only way that we can be able to achieve any of that is if we do what our master did and let ourselves go and let our will go and let Yah's will come in and let him direct our steps and guide our pathways and to give us the things that are fit and meet for us, because they will be beneficial to our salvation and not just the lusts and desires of our flesh. Strengthened with all might according to his esteemed power unto all patience and long suffering with joyfulness, giving thanks unto the Father, which have made us meet to be partakers of inheritance of the Kadeshim and light, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. And again, we see the light after receiving chastisement so we can live forever. We see the redemption, and we see the covering and the entering into the covenant, because we know no covenant is of any effect while the testator lives, and that blood must be shed to sanctify and seal that covenant. So we see again the time of love, because he betrothed us unto his son. But then we also see that you had to be redeemed because you didn't please him, because you were in darkness. So he had to translate you and change you, taking you right back to when you were in Mizraim, translating you out of darkness to bring you into his marvelous light, showing you his righteousness, his judgment, his mercies, his loving kindness, and his faithfulness. All of this is wrapped up in what he did to bring you out of Mizraim. All this is wrapped up in what he did to bring you up out of bondage again the second time, to cause you to walk upright, so that you could come dwell in a booth, so that you could come rest in the land, so that you could be a partaker of his esteem and to have his name written in your foreheads. And I'm gonna be honest with you too. To be just quite honest with y'all, the majority of what we gonna actually see in this law when we go through it is you gonna see the gospel of reconciliation and justification versus condemnation. You not necessarily gonna see the pointing out of you gonna die and go to hell. You gonna see this man's mercy and love over and over and over and over and over and over again, for those who have eyes to see and the ears to hear and the heart to understand and to perceive, that they might be converted, that they should be healed. Because a lot of our people wondering why are we not getting healed. And I seen a brother say this here, and he ain't lying. He ain't lying at all. You know what I'm saying? The people need healing, and the people ain't being healed. Well, why are they not being healed? Because Yahushua is not being preached. Therefore, because he's not being preached, the word is not being disseminated. So there's a famine, like we read earlier. There's a dearth. This is why the people are selling their people into bondage. This is why they're doing it, like we read in Nehemiah. Remember, he told you that in Amos, there's a famine in the land. Not a famine for bread and for food, but a famine for hearing the word of Yahuwah. So because there's a famine in the land, people are selling themselves over to sin. There's a famine in the land, so people are selling themselves over to sin. It is the gospel of Yahushua that frees a man from sin, that heals people. But if it's not being preached, how can they be healed? See, niggas think it's about flexing knowledge. Oh, we can pull Mashiach out of here. It ain't about that. That's what heals a man. That's what's going to heal you from sin. But you can't be healed. And remember this Isaiah 28, which the master quoted in Matthew 15. He said, Isaiah chapter 6, not Isaiah 28, Isaiah chapter 6. Where he said, their hearts are waxed gross, and their ears have they shut, lest they should hear with their ears. So unless you hear the word and believe it, and they should see with their eyes and then hear that word, like he said, right? The good seed fall on the ground is he that hear the word and understand it and do it. So unless you understand it or you have the insight, and we know the Son of Elohim has come to give us an understanding that we may know him that is true, and we are in him that is true. Therefore, they can't be converted or changed to be healed. And what are you being healed from? Sin. You have people who have emotional things that they need to be healed from. And those emotional things can only be healed from two things: acknowledging the issue and revealing it, and then discussing it and getting past it. See, some people like to hold on to their emotional scars and pains so they can be a perpetual victim to have pity for the rest of their life instead of dealing with it and getting over it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to just go ahead and get it off your chest. I don't care who it is that you talk to about it. You got to go talk to somebody about it. You know what I'm saying? Get it off your chest. Acknowledge the root cause of where that pain come from, and then it can be healed. But see, that would cause people to do the one thing that they don't want to do, and that's look at the root cause of why they're in pain in the first place. Because it'll drag up memories and things that most people sequester and repress. And they don't want to deal with that. But that's the only way you're going to heal from those emotional pains. You know what I'm saying? I used to tell people all the time, man, if you want to know why you behave or do certain, you need to go to the root of where that behavior come from, of which I cannot answer because I haven't known you your whole life. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times people want you to do certain things for them that people can't necessarily do, because I'm not in your brain and I don't know your experiences. I wasn't there, so I don't know. So you got to look at yourself, and you got to go back in the recesses of your mind and say, okay, why do I act the way that I act? Or why am I hurting the way that I hurt? Why does this make me sad? Or why am I angry about this? Because in 99.9% of the time, it go back to something that happened to you in your childhood or in your adolescence. And it's adversely affecting you this day as an adult. You know what I'm saying? And until you deal with it, then you're going to have that emotional aspect to you, and it's going to be a hindrance to you spiritually, because you're going to allow whatever pain that is to dominate. And there's no need for that. If you believe the word and you heard it and you see it and you understand it, then allow the word to convert you to be healed for the time of reformation, so you can be changed. Because you can't walk around holding that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because truth be told, can't nobody heal you. He say, pray one for another, confess that you may be healed. But I can't heal you. A brother can't heal you. A sister can't heal you. Only Yahuwah can heal you. But the only way that he can heal you is, that's one of the reasons why people confess their sins. That's why he say confess your faults and pray. Get that stuff off your chest. Somebody can give you a word of encouragement. Somebody can give you a word of exhortation. But at the end of the day, you have to allow the word to do what it do to heal you from whatever it is that you wounded from. Because at the end of the day, I can't heal you. I can't. I'm not even finna blow smoke up your butt and tell you that I can't. I can't heal you. All I can do is be there to help you get through it. But I can't heal you. And you definitely can't heal somebody who don't want to be fixed. Because a lot of people don't want to be fixed. They get attention from that role. But if you want to be fixed, you don't get that stuff off your chest. You ain't going to keep carrying that burden. That man say, come unto me all ye that are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Let that stuff go. Stop carrying that stuff with you. Stop carrying it with you. Get it off your chest. Let it go. Tell it to Yahuwah first, and then find a brother and sister and tell it to them. Or tell it to everybody. That it can be a constructive conversation to help a person get past whatever it is that they're dealing with. But people like to wallow in self-pity. Nobody respects that. Do you know what I'm saying? Man, tighten up. You got to tighten up after a while. We good in Colossians chapter 1, no? There was something else that I required. Ah, yes. Titus 3 and 12. We can get ready to wind down and let y'all slide anyway. Don't even worry about another wife. Well, I could deal with the other wife. I done dealt with it in the past. I'll do a quick synopsis of it though. I'm sorry. That's Titus 2 and 12. We'll do 2 and 9 though. Exhort servants to be obedient unto their own masters, and to please them well in all things, and not answering again, not purloining, but showing good fidelity, that they may adorn the doctrine of Elohim our Savior in all things. For the favor of Elohim that brings salvation have appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world, looking for that Baruch hope and the esteemed appearing of the great Elohim and our Savior Yahushua HaMashiach, who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. So what did he come to redeem you from? Because you sold yourself because of the dearth or from the famine, to redeem you from sin. That's what he came to do. And then he said the maidservant, the manservant. He that commits sin is the servant of sin. You sold yourself into sin. Your iniquity sold you to where you had to come under the yoke of another man, and that man was able to set you free. To set free. Luke chapter 4. And regardless or not, and I meant to like kind of pinpoint it, but You see that how he betrothed you in faithfulness. Everything we looking at, you see the betrothing of faithfulness, loving kindness, mercies, judgment, righteousness. You see all of that. Whether he did it for himself or whether he did it for give it to his son. You see all of that. So that you could be redeemed and he could deal with you after the manner of daughters. And we're going to deal with that part in a moment. As we wind it on now. Because I think we done tied up every loose end. Y'all willing? Luke 4:16. And he came to Nazareth, and when he had been where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Shabbat day and stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah, and when he opened the book, he found place where it was written, the Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he have anointed me to preach the Besorah to the poor, to the humble. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted. Now I want you to understand something. When he say heal the brokenhearted, who is this brokenhearted whom he's coming to heal? Pause. Psalm 51. Psalm 51 and 10. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a right Ruach within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Ruach HaKadosh from me. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, uphold me with thy free Ruach. Then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Deliver me from blood guiltness, O Elohim, thou Elohim of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of thy righteousness. O Yahuwah, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. For thou desire not sacrifice, else would I give it. Thou delight not in burnt offering. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken ruach, a broken and contrite heart. O Elohim, thou wilt not despise. Do good in thy good pleasure unto Zion, build thou the walls of Jerusalem. Then shalt thou be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offering and whole burnt offerings. Then shall they offer bullocks upon thine altar. So he said the sacrifices of Elohim are a broken ruach, a broken and contrite heart. Let's look at something when it comes to that, and let's see if we can understand what is he telling us when we look at the word for broken. That word is shabar. It is to break into pieces, or to crush, or to quench, or to be broken and to be shattered. But when let's look, we'll see what we get for contrite. Because he said he came to heal the brokenhearted. And the word for contrite is the same thing. Somebody who has been crushed or broken sore, and it's the ka. So if you've been broken or crushed, it's because you have been humbled. Why are you humbled? Because of the sins that you've been committed. See, now this is David speaking after what he had done did with Bathsheba. And that he was in sorrow for the things that he suffered and were afflicting. Also because of the word. He also says he dwells with him who is of a contrite ruach. Those are the ones who dwell with it. Those who have been humbled. Don't you realize that when you were in Mizraim that they were of a broken heart and he came to heal them? See that heart. See, it's another place where he tell you in Ezekiel chapter 9 to put a mark on those who mourn and sigh and cry for the abominations that they have seen. See, you being brokenhearted because of things that are of life, it's not just what he's referring to. He talking about those whose heart are broken for the causes that are of Yahuwah. Those who have been humbled, and because Yahushua was broken and crushed into pieces. And he healed him. And he healed him. And this is what he meant. He came to do that. You need Yahushua to heal you. I can't do it. Nobody else can't do it. All we can do is encourage and exhort. But we cannot heal you. Only the word can. Only the word can fill the void that many people walking this earth have inside of them. Only the word of Yahuwah can do that. All brothers and sisters can do is to encourage and exhort and to be a state. That's it. That's all they can do. They can't heal you. I can't heal you. That's why he said in Isaiah 50, you give me a word to speak a word in due season to those that are weary. Y'all can put a word in your mouth, but that word still, it's going to still be attributed back to Yah. And it's still going to take you back to he. Because at the end of the day, he need to get the esteem and honor and praise for the healing of men. He the one need to get it. It's the pride of men. I healed that brother. I brought that brother out of the depths. No, you didn't. Y'all did. You didn't do nothing. You just a conduit, a vessel. As the brother Zadok like to say, and nothing special.
I'll put you on FaceTime.
Okay then. Where we at? Verse 17. Oh, we read verse 17, verse 18. The Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me, because he have anointed me to preach the Besorah to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering the sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahuwah. And he closed the book and gave it again to the minister, and sat down, and the eyes of all of them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. This man sat back and tell you to preach deliverance to the captives. He came to free you, which is what we looking at in Exodus 21. He came to free you because you were captive. You were captive to sin. That's what they were dealing with during the Nehemiah in the 5th chapter. These people had sold themselves into bondage because of sin. And they say, we by our ability, by the Yahudim, we have bought them. We have redeemed them. And by his ability, Yahushua has bought you and redeemed you. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Six and 12. I don't need all of it, but I'm going to read it anyway. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful to me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Meats for the belly, and belly for the meats. But Elohim shall destroy it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, but for the master, and the master for the body. Elohim have both raised up the master, and will also raise up us by his power, his own power. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Mashiach? Shall then take the members of Mashiach and make them the members of a harlot? Elohim forbid. What, know ye not that he that which is joined to a harlot is one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. But he that is joined unto the master is one ruach. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man do is without the body, but he that commit fornication sin against his own body. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Ruach HaKadosh which is in you, which you have of Elohim, and you are not your own, for you are bought with the price. Therefore esteem Elohim in your body and in your Ruach, which are Elohim's. And remember, you were redeemed because you didn't please your husband well, so you've been purchased with a price. That means you his property. And then he betrothed you to his son. And he got to deal with you after the manner of daughters. Meaning, and that aspect is, he has to deal with you as the father deals with his own child. Not as a man deal with his own wife. That's how he got to deal with it. Got to look at that. He said after the manner of daughters, or the law of daughters. That means that man. Let's see what the law of daughters is then. Leviticus chapter 20. Because you know a man ain't got no business laying with his own daughter. We don't do that type of stuff. That's what he said the son had to deal with. The son has to deal with that woman as a man deal with his own daughter. Let's see what we got in here. Let's see. I don't think it's got one specifically on that one. You know, we don't do the incest though. Let's look at verse 12. It's going to say daughter-in-law, but sure, it's the same difference. If a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought confusion, and their blood shall be upon them. Let me look at Leviticus 18. Let's see if we get that on there. Of course, clearly. Come on, Leviticus 18. Clearly, we're going to come back and deal with all this anyway. There we go. Leviticus 18 and 1. Screw it. Well, Leviticus 18 is better. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. After the doings of the land of Mizraim, wherein you dwelt, ye shall not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall you walk in their ordinances. You shall do my judgments. Remember that word for marriage, mishpat. That's judgment now. You shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am Yahuwah. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahuwah. So when you deal with that, as he says that then if he betroth you to his son has to deal with her after the manner of daughters, which means that son has to treat that woman, that maidservant, as his own daughter. He has to treat her as his own daughter. And then you should know this looking at the fact of what? That Isaiah chapter 9 tells you that he shall be called a father. So when we come over here to 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 16, and what agreement hath the temple of Elohim with idols? For you are the temple of the living Elohim, as Elohim hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith Yahuwah Almighty. So now he sit back and said, you'll be my sons and daughters, because I done gave you to my son. Say, now see, in the first aspect, you looking at that same son is the one who redeemed this woman to set her free. Now you sit back and you look at this same son who had this woman betrothed unto him, and that all these things that he said they would do it. Then he said, you got to turn around and treat her like your daughter. Let's look at another aspect of that. I had it in my brain and just slipped out too. Oh yeah, Mark chapter 3. Which makes the statement right here even stronger of why the master said what he said. Mark 3 and 31. And after that, Galatians chapter 3. There came then his brethren and his mother, standing without, sent unto him, calling him. And the multitude sat about him, and they said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brethren without seek for thee. And he answered them, saying, Who is my mother or my brethren? He looked round about on them which sat about him, and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. For whoso shall do the will of Elohim, the same as my brother, and my sister, and mother. Because if not, he deal with them after the manner of daughters. What is a father's duties according to the law for his children? Say if a man don't take care of his own household, he's an infidel, he's denied the faith. I mean, he got to feed her, he got to clothe her, he got to protect her. That's how he got to deal with her. And what did Yahushua do? He gave you bread to eat of his flesh. He gave you raiment to cover you, which is his ruach. He gave you a place to dwell, which is his body. Nevertheless, let's go back to Exodus 21, that bottom two verses, and we slide out of here. It's already 11:11. And we'll come up with a brief synopsis of what we looked at to make sure everybody understand everything clearly. So, in recapping, when we looked at verse 7, it said if a man's in Exodus 21, if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she cannot go out as the men servants do. So the same way in that 7th year that the manservant go out free, that maidservant cannot go out free. But it said if she please not her master, who betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. So because Yasharal did not please Yahuwah, who betrothed her to himself, he let another man come through and redeem her, because to sell her to a strange nation, he can't have no power. That means he would have dealt deceitfully with her. So he did not sell her to a strange nation. We sold ourselves to a strange nation, and he allowed Yahushua to redeem us. The next thing, if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. That's my apologies, everybody. That's my bad. I got it twisted. Yahuwah deals with Yasharal after the manner of daughters or her children. Then his son is the one who is married unto her. Like that. My apologies on that. Which goes back to where we read that he is our sons and daughters. What I was going to pull in Galatians 3 is there's no male or female, nor bond nor free, no Yahudim nor Greek, and Mashiach. That's why he could deal with her after the manner of daughters. She gets an inheritance. She gets a right. She has a right to the covenant just like everybody else does. Just like the sons do. They have a right to that in the same fashion. All of these things that we looking at is all the mercies of Elohim and his love and his faithfulness and his judgment. Because we didn't read the verse I wanted with judgment, because we kind of started that in Exodus. When he said he'll execute judgments on the gods of Egypt. And then you read in John 16 how he said that the God of this world has been judged. Sin and death has been judged. Satan has been judged. He had to do all this to betroth us unto him, to give us unto his son, so he could treat us like his daughter, like his child. We have to consider that. We got to consider that when Mashiach drank that cup and went in that grave and got on that stake, that was the time of love, because nobody else pitied us to have compassion on us. So he entered into a covenant with us that we could be his, that we could be his wife, so that we could be redeemed, so that y'all could become the sons and daughters of the living Elohim, that you could be brought back and say, I have sinned, I have perverted that which is right, and it did not profit me, so he could bring back your soul from going into the pit, that you might have right to light, to everlasting life. We have to consider that. But the bottom part of it, if a man take another wife, we know that one wife is Yasharal, the other wife is Yehuda. He got to give her food. That's the John 10:16. I got another fold, another flock, which is not a fold. They got to get the same body. They got to get the same raiment or ruach, and they got to have put upon the same covenant. He can't diminish any of that, because he said if he don't do these three under her, then she can go out free without money. I mean, she ain't got to be redeemed. She ain't got to be paid for. So if he didn't, then that takes us back to, I'm going to make a new covenant with the house of Yasharal and with the house of Yehuda. Because if he don't do these three things to the house of Yasharal, then you free to go. You ain't had to be, then Yahusha didn't have to buy you. He didn't have to purchase you. There would be no payment. Therefore, this could happen. Thank the Lamb. Romans chapter 4, and that's where we'll stop at. If he didn't come through to give you that food, raiment, and do their marriage, then this would be validated right here in Romans chapter 4. 4:1. Because we know the bread, the food is his body, which you got to take by faith. The raiment is the ruach, which you can only receive by faith. And then you enter into that covenant. So if he don't do these three things for Yasharal, or he don't do these three things for Yehuda, then they can slide. Specifically Yasharal, because he was sent unto the house of Yehuda first. What shall we say then that Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, hath found? For if Abraham were justified by works, he had whereof to esteem, but not before Elohim. For what saith the scripture? Abraham believed Elohim, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Now to him that work is the reward not reckoned of favor, but of debt. But to him that work not, but believe on him that justified the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. So you come out and you got to do that, then you saved yourself. Like I said, nobody can redeem his brother in Psalm 49. You saved yourself. So he got to let you go out. But since he did that, you've been bought with a price. You've been bought with a price. But hallelujah for Yahushua. I know where we start right there. Did everybody understand?